right? You're playing for the cup. You're
Yeah.
playing for playoffs. You don't need him now if something's still going on. I mean, maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe he's had a couple of, but he should have his cardio by now. He's played enough hockey that he should feel fine, right?
Maybe he's just not in shape.
It's possible, but
I mean, I'm throwing stuff out there right now.
I thought that, but now it's been how many games he played now? 10 games since he's been back. Even if he didn't do anything, he just played 10 hockey games, he'd be in shape.
Yeah.
In theory. So
Yeah. Just doesn't seem to have any puck luck either, too.
no,
which has
posts
been
all over
his,
the place.
which has been his trademark, is that he could just find ways to get open for a split second, and then boom, it's gone.
Well, and like often he'll shoot a puck in the past that didn't seem that dangerous, and it's just like, oh, it's in. Like the goalie just
Yeah.
like, oh wow, caught him off guard.
Yeah.
This year his shooting percentage on wrist shots is 8%. Last year was 18%. So something on that wrist shot is not
Yeah.
as effective for whatever reason.
I'm still interested long term if Marner and Willie at times, who both like to handle the puck, can read off of each other.
I'd like to see them play together. Like they've never spent any extended time together with a different center. Even doesn't have to be Matthews, but doesn't seem like they again they still make plays because they're good players. But
the big line, and for the most part, outside of the strength of the third line now, is just they still have trouble like moving the puck, right? And just
who's that? The first line last
just
night?
the Leafs in general for me still, right?
Yeah. I thought they
And,
moved it okay as the game went on, but
Tavares made a great play to solidify the win. Great effort.
their
I
line
mean,
though was
but they didn't look
outside Pacioretty killing someone else.
they didn't look that great either.
They didn't get an even strength shot till late in the third period, that line. So they were reasonably ineffective.
Yeah.
We do have a clip on the top line before we go to break. Let's just hear clip 3, Ruby.
Well, I know they got a goal and some chances and stuff. But just for me, it's, I think they were off tonight a little bit, like a lot of our guys were. They didn't think they had their best game, but, we'll see.
Josh is waiting for us.
All right, we'll go to break here, and when we return, Joshua Cloak, writer with The Athletic, covering the Toronto Maple Leafs. We'll get into what we saw last night and what we may expect going into the Christmas break. That and more when we return to Real Kipper and Bourne. The Real Kipper and Bourne Show. All right, we got Joshua Cloak ready. Let's get right at it. Josh, how are you? Have you picked out our gifts yet, Justin and mine? I'm an XL. No, I'm an L
You're
now. I'm an L now.
trim.
I used to be an XL.
What happened? What's the secret?
Old age. That's it.
I don't want anything to do with that secret then yet. So
outside of that, Leafs look like they want to keep playing. I'm not sure the break will do them any good. They're fine. Like forget about the quality or the consistency, man. They just find ways to win. And look no further than who's between the pipes.
yeah, I mean, you guys know. Like, I feel like every time I come on, I'm pumping Joe Wall's tires. I'm a Joe Wall guy, and I just think that like this is such a massive opportunity for him to really prove for the first time, hey, I'm a number one goalie in this league. I can be trusted, not just like I have the upside or the potential or the skill. I can be trusted. That's like the last question that he has to answer. Like he's got to answer, right? Like, can you be trusted to stay healthy? Gives up that first goal, and you're kind of like, oh. But then you make 36 saves against a very good Dallas Stars team. He's got a lot to prove right now. And you look at in the past when he's kind of really been depended on. It's in the playoffs, and they've been down in the series anyway. This is real runway for him to put together a stretch of games, not necessarily steal back the net, because I think the tandem thing works, but like just put it to bed, the injury stuff, just put it all to bed. And I thought last night was a really good first step towards really doing that.
So you're our program's Marlies watcher, which we appreciate. What are your thoughts on Matt Murray over Dennis Hildeby? Maybe.
No, maybe.
No,
It's
maybe.
on.
It's a done
It's
deal.
on. It's a done deal. And here's why. I was thinking this morning about how, like, when you look at guys that are right on the kind of the fringe of the Leafs lineup, right? Dennis Hildeby gets called up, and right away, his first media avail, he looks tentative. He's asked about his game with the Marlies, and he essentially says, I got some stuff to work on. And you're like, well, wait a sec, dude, you're about to play for the Leafs here. And then I look at a guy, and I was talking to him the other day, Phil Myers. Now, you can debate whether or not Phil Myers is a top 6 NHL defenseman, but he's in the same spot. He's kind of on the fringes. And this guy just exudes swagger and confidence. He's like, I'm ready. I've been waiting. I'm ready to play right now. I'm excited. Let's go. And you're thinking about that, and you're like, yeah, one of those guys does seem like he'd steal an opportunity. And I think we saw that with Dennis Hildeby, a guy that, for a variety of reasons, probably just isn't ready yet. And I think the Leafs saw what we all saw and said, you know what? The race at the top of the Atlantic is really tight. We can't afford to drop points here. Let's go with something that is a little bit more of a sure thing. And sometimes too, when guys get sent down, when NHL guys get sent down to the AHL and they have to spend time there, they want no part of it. And I'm not going to name names, but there's been a few guys with the Marlies, vet guys over the past few years that haven't really wanted to talk to the media. And my understanding is they just stick to themselves. That's not what Matt Murray has done. He's bought in, right? He's riding the buses. He's paying for dinners. He's doing the duties. He's accepting his fate. And when you have that kind of attitude, that mentality, it can be reflected in your play, right? He looked great last night. He hasn't looked exceptional, but he's looked good enough and he's done enough to deserve the chance to get called back up. Because this was always the plan all along, right? If someone gets hurt, Matt Murray is your number 3. So wouldn't surprise me at all if he starts tomorrow night in Buffalo.
So, Josh, and I brought this up in last year's show where I said, don't be surprised if the Leafs go back and bring back Matt Murray after cleaning up his health issues, and then JB started dry heaving.
I wasn't
on the show.
ready for that.
We had to throw the break. I had to go to Colored Bars on our TV show. It was ugly. It was ugly. Where were you on the thought of actually, with everything he went through last year, bringing him back? Isn't that just dumping in on the doubling and tripling and quadrupling down on the group here after failed attempts here? So where's your comfort zone with Matt Murray getting back in?
I don't know if I was dry heaving, but I wasn't feeling good, right? I was going to the medicine cabinet for sure.
Okay.
Because look, I made my bed and I saw the way Dennis Hildeby played. Like you guys know, I'm a big give the kids a chance, right? Because that's what the Marlies are for. And Dennis Hildeby was a fantastic goalie with the Marlies last year. Goalies take time. Goalies take longer than forwards. Like, look at Joe Woll. Like, he was drafted the same year as Austin Matthews. We're talking about Austin Matthews as a vet.
Right. And
Joe Woll is like hanging out with Matt Nyes. Like, he's hanging out with the rookies. So these things take time. I saw bringing back Matt Murray as an opportunity for the organization, Brad Treliving, to say, you know what, just as a human, we know you've kind of been dealt a rough lot here. Let's give you another shot, because organizations need that kind of Michael Hutchinson type. They need that healthy kind of third guy that is comfortable just bouncing up and down. And like, Matt Murray going what he went through, like that stinks. That's really, really hard. So I saw it as a really good step, just again, as a human, for the organization to say, you know what, if you can prove to us you're healthy, we're going to give you a shot, because all things being equal, you can step in and do a job. And even though I had Dennis Hildeby ahead of him on the depth chart, I was proven wrong. He doesn't look ready yet, especially when the margins are so thin in the Atlantic, right? So I don't know. It certainly hurt as someone who was team play your kids, but this is where the Leafs are not in the development business right now. And that's I think what's become pretty clear, and that's why they're turning to Matt Murray.
Leafs facing center crisis amid injuries, eyeing trade market for solutions. As the Toronto Maple Leafs battle through a growing injury list and a suspension, their lack of depth at the center position has become a glaring issue. According to Sportsnet's Elliotte Friedman in his latest 32 Thoughts article, the Leafs are among the teams exploring trade options to bolster their lineup. This effort is coming amid increasing competition from teams like the Chicago Blackhawks and Nashville Predators, who have also set their sights on improving their center depth. Friedman didn't mince words about the Leafs' predicament. The teams currently focusing on centers, including Chicago and Nashville, must consider when others will enter the market. Toronto will undoubtedly be one of those teams, he wrote. While the Blackhawks and Predators may have an edge in terms of cap space and assets, the Leafs remain a team to watch as the season progresses. The Leafs situation is urgent, with up to 7 forwards currently unavailable due to injury or suspension. Ryan Reeves is serving a 5-game suspension, while key players like Auston Matthews, upper body, Matthew Knies, upper body, Kaje Jarnkrok, groin/sports hernia, David Kampf, lower body, Max Domi, lower body, and Max Pacioretty, lower body, are all sidelined. The team has even considered temporarily shifting Mitch Marner to the center position, highlighting the severity of their depth issues. This isn't just a short-term concern for the Leafs. Depth at center has been a persistent challenge for the team, and while stopgap solutions like Marner could help in the interim, the front office appears keen to explore longer-term fixes. For fans of the blue and white, this has been a recurring theme. The Leafs' center depth often becomes a problem at the worst possible times. James Myrtle of The Athletic recently added more fuel to the speculation, naming several potential trade targets who could help the Leafs address their issues. Among them is Ryan O'Reilly, a familiar name for Toronto fans. O'Reilly, who signed a 4-year, $18 million deal with Nashville in 2023, might be a trade candidate if the Predators' underwhelming start to the season, 6-11-3, 31st in the league, prompts a rebuild. However, his steep price tag and history with the Leafs, including rejecting a free agency offer less than 2 years ago, make this a complex and potentially unlikely move. Other names mentioned by Myrtle include former Leaf Nazem Kadri, currently with Calgary, as well as players like Michael Granlund, Nick Jugstad, Brock Nelson, Yanni Gourde, Trent Frederic, Radek Faksa, and Sean Kuraly. While some of these options seem more plausible than others, it's clear that general manager Brad Treliving will need to get creative to find the right piece without mortgaging the team's future. Cap space remains one of the biggest obstacles for the Leafs. Unlike teams like Chicago and Nashville, which have more flexibility and assets, Toronto is walking a financial tightrope. As Friedman noted, competition will intensify as cap-constrained teams strive to create room. For the Leafs, that could mean waiting for the market to develop further, a risky move given their current needs. The situation also highlights the Leafs' ongoing struggle to build a roster that can withstand the grueling nature of an NHL season. Injuries are an inevitability in hockey, but Toronto's current predicament underscores the importance of depth, a quality the team has struggled to consistently maintain. Looking back on recent years, the Leafs have often leaned heavily on their star players, particularly Matthews, Marner, and William Nylander. While these players have delivered in spades, the lack of reliable depth options has left the team vulnerable in critical moments. The current crisis at center is merely the latest example of this recurring issue. Some fans have called for more aggressive moves from Treliving, arguing that now is the time to strike while the team's core is in its prime. Others, however, are more cautious, pointing to the dangers of overpaying for short-term fixes. Striking the right balance will be key, especially as the Leafs aim to keep their championship window open. Despite the challenges, there's no denying that Toronto has the talent to be a contender, provided they can patch up their lineup. The ongoing rumors and speculation surrounding potential trades show that the Leafs are at least exploring every avenue to strengthen their roster. For fans of the blue and white, this moment feels like a pivotal point in the season. With a lineup ravaged by injuries and a tough schedule ahead, the Leafs must act decisively to avoid falling behind in the standings. The addition of a dependable center could be the difference between weathering the storm or watching another season slip away. Whether it's O'Reilly, Kadri, or another surprise name, one thing is certain: the Leafs are under pressure to deliver. And for a fan base as passionate and loyal as Toronto's, there's no room for excuses. The time to act is now, and Leafs Nation is watching closely. As the trade deadline approaches, the stakes couldn't be higher. Will Treliving pull off a move that solidifies the Leafs' status as a contender, or will the search for center depth become yet another chapter in the team's long history of what-ifs? Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure: it's never boring in Leafs land. As the Maple Leafs navigate this critical juncture, their fan base remains as vocal as ever. Toronto is a city that breathes hockey, and the pressure on Brad Treliving to make the right moves is immense. Every decision he makes, or doesn't make, will be scrutinized, from talk radio to social media, where Leafs Nation is already debating the merits of the various names being floated as potential trade targets. Among the louder debates is whether the team should prioritize a high-profile acquisition like Ryan O'Reilly or Nazem Kadri, or focus on a lower-cost, reliable center who can fill a supporting role without costing too many future assets. While O'Reilly's leadership and playoff experience make him an attractive option, his contract and recent history with the Leafs add layers of complexity to any potential reunion. Similarly, Kadri's gritty, two-way playstyle remains a fan favorite, but his cap hit and availability might render him an unrealistic target. Another factor complicating the Leafs situation is their tight salary cap. While Chicago and Nashville can make moves with relative ease due to their financial flexibility, Toronto must navigate a labyrinth of constraints to make any trade work. This likely means including salary retention or moving existing contracts to make room, which could drive up the cost of any potential deal. The question then becomes, how much are the Leafs willing to sacrifice to address their immediate needs? One potential trade partner generating buzz is the Seattle Kraken. Yanni Gourde, a dependable two-way center, has been mentioned as a possible target. Gourde's versatility and championship pedigree from his time with Tampa Bay make him an appealing option. Seattle, however, is in playoff contention and may not be inclined to part with a key piece unless the Leafs can provide a substantial return. Another intriguing name is Brock Nelson of the New York Islanders. Nelson is a consistent scorer and reliable faceoffman, qualities that would undoubtedly bolster Toronto's center depth. However, the Islanders are notoriously cautious when it comes to trades, and prying Nelson away would likely require a significant package, including picks or prospects that the Leafs may be hesitant to part with. For all the trade talk, some analysts believe the solution might come from within. Sheldon Keefe has shown a willingness to experiment with his lineup, and players like Pontus Holmberg or Fraser Minton could be given an opportunity to step up. While relying on less experienced players carries risks, it might be the Leafs' only option if the trade market proves too costly or slow to develop. Adding to the Leafs' urgency is the timing. The Atlantic Division remains one of the toughest in the league, with teams like Boston, Florida, and Tampa Bay continuing to dominate. Any prolonged slump could see Toronto slip further down the standings, putting their playoff hopes in jeopardy. For a team with Stanley Cup aspirations, failing to address their weaknesses could have catastrophic consequences. Brad Treliving's history as a general manager suggests he's not afraid to make bold moves. His time with the Calgary Flames was marked by blockbuster trades, including the acquisition of Jonathan Huberdeau and Mackenzie Weegar in the Matthew Tkachuk deal. Leafs fans hope he brings that same decisiveness to Toronto, especially as the trade deadline looms. Beyond the immediate need for a center, this situation underscores a broader issue with the Leafs roster construction. Depth has been a perennial concern, and while Toronto boasts some of the league's top-end talent, their reliance on a handful of stars has left them vulnerable in moments like this. Moving forward, addressing this imbalance must be a priority for the front office if the team is to achieve sustained success. As the Leafs head into a critical stretch of the season, the next few weeks could define their trajectory.